Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, Vikings Vent Line every Sunday right here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. If you'd like to be a part of this show, like my guy Zach is about to, you can hit me up. It's Vikings Vent Line at gmail.com. You can send me an email link. Got about, 3 months or so until the start of the regular season. So I've been doing this show for the last few years on the off-season edition where I welcome as many Vikings fans as possible. So if this is a show you'd like to be a part of for the first time, you want to come back on to Vent Line, you can hit me up. It's Vikings Vent Line at gmail.com. You can also DM me on Twitter. I'm at Dex's Tweets. If you'd like to join the show, would love to hear from you. If you have takes on the upcoming season, the draft that just took place about a month ago, anything that's on your mind, this is a safe place for you. Hit the subscribe button, I should say, for daily Vikings entertainment. This is Purple Daily. We're on Apple, Spotify. The Score North app, too, is a central hub. We got some great listener reward options there as well if you want to check those out. And hit the like button, subscribe button. It really helps us out and spreads the word about Purple Daily. All right, Vikings Vent Line rolls on. Let's get our guy Zach on here. Zach, what's up, dude? Remind me here, are you making your first trip, or have you been on Vent Line before?
Nope, this will be my first trip.
First trip on Vikings Vent Line. Welcome to the show, dude. Little background for you. Where are you from? What made you a Vikings fan? What is some of your earliest Vikings memories? Give us a little background on how you became a tortured fan of the Vikings.
So I currently live in Missouri. So I got a lot of Chiefs fans around me. I would say I probably started remembering Vikings and getting into it about 2008 season. About 10 years old, I think is when I started understanding more football and stuff like that. My dad grew up in Brewster, Minnesota. So everything's been Minnesota sports for me. So yeah, just been a diehard Vikings fan, and 2009 broke me.
Yeah, man. I would say, I remember 41 Donut well. That's like my earliest memory. And then, but I would say 07, 08, 09, that's when I was definitely fully teeth and grain. I was in high school then, and that's when I definitely came a lot more aware of the misery that's about to come forth. So yeah, 09, rough time. I feel like too, you represent a bunch of fans that have joined Vent Line in the last few years that they say that's their first heartbreak memory is 2009, Brett Favre thrown across his body. Were there tears? Did you throw anything? How did you feel when that happened?
I remember just laying face on the floor, just sobbing, just like the SpongeBob, just up and down, just sobbing.
I love a good SpongeBob reference, so I know exactly what you're talking about there, man.
I think Joe Buck was on the call whenever he's, since the Saints to the first Super Bowl, and I was just I was so heartbroken. It was such a fun season. It was my first real season. I was, experienced it, and it was amazing.
Let's talk about this upcoming season too here, right? So Kirk Cousins moves on. They got Sam Darnold in the house. They draft JJ McCarthy. Early camp notes from Judd kind of indicate, Sam Darnold will be the QB1, and maybe JJ McCarthy kind of has to crawl his way and really develop as the summer progresses to show that he could maybe even be a backup to Sam Darnold to open the year. I'm just going to lay this one on you to start, Zach. Is there a world where you're okay if JJ McCarthy doesn't play at all in 2024?
So selfishly, I would like him to play. Right? I think as a fan, I think, taking him that as high as we did, first time in franchise history, taking a quarterback in the top 10, I love him to come out and play. But, you look at guys like Mahomes, Jordan Love, Carson Palmer, Michael Vick that sat for a year. It did them, really well in their career. So I would be okay if he didn't play in 2024. I'm not as high on Darnold, I think, as other people are. But if he sat, and like Judge referred to a lot, this is a really complex system for quarterbacks to learn. And he's also working on some mechanical things too and getting things tuned up. So, I think I'd be okay if he didn't play in 2024.
So with Darnold, you said there's obviously a little bit of trepidation there. I totally get it. If Darnold played the full season, what do you think record-wise? Where do you think the Vikings would be if he was the starter all year?
I would probably lean 9-8. 9-8.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like if they're 9-8, that the only issue I would have with that is all right, they probably were fighting for a playoff spot near the end. Maybe that is even good enough to get in the playoffs. You never know with the state of the conference, but it feels like a team that should win 6 to 8 games if Darnold was the full-time starter, maybe even 8 or 9 being the ceiling. But I mean, if maybe Darnold was, maybe everyone's right on Darnold where he was just being held back for a long time. I don't know if I agree with it. I'm kind of with you. I have a little bit more skeptical view of Darnold. I think this is probably the best infrastructure he's ever been in, though, right? Like if he's got JJ, Aaron Jones, eventually you're gonna get TJ Hawkinson back, Jordan Addison. Like I feel like infrastructure wise, though, Zach, like Darnold's definitely in the best car he's driven in a long time.
Yeah, I don't think it's really close. I mean, San Fran, but he only played, I think, a game there, started for him, and it was kind of a meaningless game. Yeah, I think if he peaks and he has I think he can have a similar to Baker Mayfield season, just because the infrastructure, like you have JJ, you have Addison, like you said, you're gonna have Hawkinson back. Aaron Jones, if he can stay healthy, is a huge addition in my opinion. I wonder just about him, just mentally I'm seeing ghost things, and if he can just make the right plays, not turn the ball over, and just play winning football.
Yeah, if he does all those things, I think they could be a pretty decent offense, right? I mean, we saw Josh Dobbs step in here basically off the street, put up a couple good games. Nick Mullins, stat wise, put up a couple good games. I think if Darnold can kind of hold it down here a little bit, and then maybe eventually they turn to McCarthy. That's obviously the long term plan, but yeah, maybe there's something here in Sam Darnold long term. How do you feel about the offensive line, though, Zach? I mean, every fan every year feels like, and I don't blame them, by the way. This is not a ridicule on any fan because it's warranted. How do you feel about the Vikings offensive line heading into this year? Like, I mean, they got two good tackles, but as a whole, how do you kind of feel about the line?
On like a grade scale, I'd say about like a B minus.
Okay.
Obviously, like you said, Darisaw and O'Neal, very solid tackles, really good. I'm concerned with the guard play still. I know Eddie Ingram, he developed really good and progressed really good from year 1 to year 2. It's just I'm a little iffy still. We're gonna see it year 3, and then Brandel, he was a good run blocker, better than a pass blocker. So we only got to see like 100 and I think the numbers were like 170 snaps on him. So what does he bring? And then Dalton Reisner, will he start? Garrett Bradbury kind of is what he is at this point, in my opinion. I think he's been solid. He's been better than years past. But I will say with KOC being the head coach, and I like the offensive line a lot. I feel like if things might go south, he can kind of be a key reason why, okay, if we got to throw Reisner off the bench or Questenberry has to start another game, it can be savage.
What about Aaron Jones? Obviously, I mean, you mentioned if he's healthy, a really damn good back. It feels like that's been like the missing link in the Kevin O'Connell offensive stew to a degree, and I think that is like chef, a problem with the chef there with Kevin O'Connell. Do you think Aaron Jones kind of opens up maybe some more of those holes and has more explosive plays? I mean, I feel like it's probably like if they get the version of Aaron Jones we're used to seeing, like it's the best running back they've had in definitely a few years, like since Dalvin before he obviously kind of fell off the cliff.
Yeah, I really like the Aaron Jones signing. I was a really big fan of it. I think, to end the year last year, whenever he was on the playoff run and what he did against the Cowboys and then what he did against us, even on the New Year's Eve game, and then against, he was really starting to get it going. I would hope he can kind of get the run game going. Obviously, I don't think Madison scored a touchdown last year. I don't think he had a rushing touchdown.
He didn't.
Our first one was Cam Akers, if I'm not mistaken, against Green Bay. So yeah, I think he brings some really good stuff to the running game. Obviously, he can receive as well too. He's a good receiving back, and he can pass block too. I'm excited for him. I would love to see him go over 1,000 yards and actually get in the end zone unlike some other guys. But yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I hope it contributes.
You're good too. Ty Chandler kind of being. Is there another gear to him too? I mean, he's got great speed. He's kind of a little bit more of a gadget back to a degree, but. What do you feel about Ty Chandler kind of being the backup? Do you think Jones, Ty Chandler, there's actually a something there to kind of, like to your point, get the running game going more consistently?
Yeah, I like that a lot. Ty Chandler, I think it was the Denver game, he had the fake punt, and we were like, all right, we need to, use the guy a lot more. The Bengals game, he ran the ball really well. I think he's super explosive. I think the biggest knock on him is, pass protection. Can he help whenever things fall apart on the offensive line, and can he step up and take care of the quarterback whenever he needs to? But yeah, I really like the 1-2 punch of Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. I think it's really underrated. I'm a big fan of it.
So defensively, though, switching sides of that part of the ball, Brian Flores coming back here, been a ton of turnover now. I guess which player on the defensive side are you most excited for? Like, who do you think kind of makes the biggest impact on the Vikings defense this year?
I had a couple guys, but I think I got to go with Josh Metellus. I mean, he is just the ultimate Swiss Army knife player. He can, blitz inside, come off the edge, play coverage. He's great at stopping the run. I think he really could be a Pro Bowler this year, maybe even an All-Pro. I think he got unlocked last year, and there's just another level to his game. I think he helps everybody on the defense. I would say he would probably make the biggest impact. He's just he just puts his nose down, and he can literally do anything on the defense.
So Dallas Turner too, they kind of trade up to get him. He was a consensus top 10 guy, basically on a lot of big boards, falls all the way to 17. Do you think, like, paired with him and Grenard, they can kind of make up for the difference that was lost there with Danielle Hunter leaving in free agency?
I do. I like Dallas Turner a lot. I was surprised we got him. I like Grenard a lot too. He had 12 and a half sacks last year. I know health has kind of been a concern for him, but if he can stay healthy, and then, throwing in Van Ginkel, I know Phil was really high on Van Ginkel on his player rankings. Van Ginkel, on PFF grades, he had really high grades. I think his lowest grade was like an 80, an 83 on some stuff, but he's a Brian Flores guy. I think Grenard and Dallas Turner can really be a nice 1-2 punch as well. Especially Dallas Turner, he's got long arms, good size, he's fast, crazy athletic, and I think Grenard's kind of slept on because he had 12 and a half sacks. He was top 10 in sacks, and then, the Vikings get him. Obviously, we lose to Neal, but I think, those guys will make the pass rush really nice.
I think with Brian Flores too sticking around, like, the Vikings have had so much turnover defensively. Obviously, Zimmer leaves, Donatel doesn't work, Flores, steps in here, shows signs of life with kind of inheriting a really bad crew, and was able to turn it around at least for 1/3 of the season where they were one of the better units as a whole. I guess last thing on the defense for you, Zach, like what is your expectation for the defense next year, just as a whole? Do you think that they are a middle of the pack defense? Is it still going to be a gradual kind of build? Are we looking at a sleeping giant? What are your kind of expectations for the Vikings D this year?
I'm going to go with sleeping giant. I think another year for, most of these guys in Brian Flores' system. He's a great defensive coach. The only thing that concerns me is the corners, but, I don't think – they were playing pretty good, and then last year at the end of the year kind of started falling off. But corners would be my only worry. I think that this defense can be top 10, top 7. I really like a lot of the pieces. Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace another year in the system. We already touched on Metellus. I think Cam Bynum too. I think another year in the system for him as well. I really like, the pieces we have. And like you said, this is the first time we've had back-to-back defensive coordinators that have stayed, and Brian Flores staying is a really big thing for us.
Yeah, the cornerback thing I think worries me a little bit. They're so inexperienced and just unknown there, in a negative way. Now, if the pass rush is getting home, maybe guys like Metellus, Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum kind of make up for, which is obviously their weakest link on the defense on corner. But man, if everything else is working, and it is really hard to play defense, standout defense for 17 games in today's NFL. It's next to impossible, to be honest. So when you look at some of those best defense, they're going to have some clunkers every once in a while. But I think just having him back, Flores, that is making it more consistent, having the guys around there, not changing up a system too much. I think at the very worst, it probably is in league average defense. I'll have to see it be a sleeping giant overnight. I think it will take some time to see that, but I think in general, having Flores back is just going to be really good news and a good thing to have for the Vikes. Before we wrap here, Zach, any last hot takes? Any hot takes you have for the season that are coming up here? Anything you'd love to give off your chest here on Vikings Vent Line? Fire away.
I think we're gonna make the playoffs. I think we'll sneak in as a wild card, but I think we'll see JJ McCarthy sooner than people think. I'm kind of with you on you're right. That prediction, week 1, maybe not, but man, after the bye, it really sticks out to me. We have a brutal schedule to open it up. From pass rushers, you have Thibodeau and Brian Burns they got, and then you have San Fran, and then you have Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson. You have guys, some pretty good defenses coming into town. And then after that Rams game, I wonder, if Darnold was struggling, if he's not playing that best ball, and we need a spark to kind of get the team going and try to make a playoff push and get JJ some more development and some reps and go from there. I wouldn't be shocked if he came in earlier than people think.
Yeah, the bye kind of being timed up with a brutal start to their schedule. If they're 1-4, 1-5, or basically just have a couple wins here and there. I don't know what the patience level will be, and also how are they losing those games? Are they losing those in fluky one possession random ways, or are they getting blown out? I think that kind of tells a lot. But yeah, I would be a little surprised as much. I'm bullish on JJ. I think there's still a lot to be lot to prove in training camp once that kicks off in about a month. But I would be pretty surprised, off the first question I asked you, if he doesn't play at all. Like I do think he plays. At some point, he's got to play. And there might be a slow burn. I totally get that. You don't want to throw him into the wolves to a degree, but I think we'll see JJ McCarthy. I'm with you. I don't know quite when, but I think we'll see him at least make a start this year at some point this season for the Vikings. Any last shout outs for you, Zach? Any shout outs you love to give here on Vent Line?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give my mom and dad a shout out. My dad got me into Minnesota sports, so it's a blessing and a curse. My mom is a diehard Chiefs fan. She never brags or boasts or anything like that. She just takes her Super Bowls and continues to root. And then I'd like to give a shout out to you guys for getting me on the show. Big fan, love what you guys are doing, keeping us Vikings fans entertained, and always popping out good product.
Well, I appreciate you, Zach. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you coming on Vent Line for the first time. Come on during the regular season. We'd love to have you. And fighting a good fight down there in Missouri, man. That's you might be in lone territory there with the Chiefs fans. So that's a rough one for you, buddy.
Right.
Love it. Hey, hit the like button, subscribe button. If anyone wants to come on a future episode that's listening or watching this, please hit me up. It's VikingsVentLine@gmail.com. Purple Daily back at you on Monday.